Thanks for tuning in to another edition of Fast 3 Minutes of Sports. I'm your host, Brent Snow.
We're going to focus on the reigning MVP who retired from the game last week after 40 years of play. Upon Mount Nebo, Moses abruptly retired from leading the Israelites.
No one expected greatness from the stuttering shepherd when he was placed in the starting lineup 40 years ago.
Everyone took notice of Moses, though, when he stood in front of his teammates and the defending champion Egyptians and guaranteed victory. The Israelites would shock the world as Moses systematically picked apart the Egyptians. He used new formations, plays, and techniques that had never been seen in the game before. Water into blood, frogs, boils, hail, locusts, darkness, and then death. It was a shutout and the Egyptians were no longer number one in the polls. No matter where you went, you could hear Israel shouting, "Booyah! Scoreboard!" The coach of the Egyptians, Pharaoh, admitted defeat and Israel decided to move its organization to a promised land that would equip them for a long-term success. Game over, right?
Not so fast, my friends.
As the Israelites were in their exodus from Egypt, the Egyptians sought out a rematch with them. Pharaoh led his team on full court press to trap the Israelites in against the Red Sea. With time winding down and no timeouts left, things looked bleak for the new number one team. Moses then looked to the heavens for a miracle, spread out his arms, and parted the Red Sea. Could they cross over on dry land in enough time to escape the Egyptians? They could! Go all the way! Israel was now the new number one. Could they sustain the excellence? God did his part to help sustain them in the land by providing manna for them during their game. Now Moses was leading around his motley crew of roughly 1 million. With the help of God, Moses wanted to bring order and instruction to the team. So God had Moses climb Mount Sinai for a coaches meeting, and there he gave him a game plan. 10 keys to victory. The Israelites weren't too sure of these, but were also afraid to get in the coach's doghouse. Still, they began to grumble amongst themselves about the team's new direction. Moses sent out his scouts to research the next opponents and the land that awaited them. He looked over the 12 scouting reports, and 10 of them predicted a loss for the Israelites. Their opponent was too fast, too strong, too experienced, and probably used performance-enhancing drugs, the report said. However, the other 2 scouting reports came back with optimistic predictions. These scouts knew the Israelites' game plan was unstoppable against their opponents, no matter how they lined up against each other. As Moses was processing the scouting reports, the scouts who predicted defeat stirred up the team, which was already on edge with Moses, to come against their captain. The owner was furious. They had the shutout victory over the Egyptians, and still there was doubt? Their owner fined most of the team for conduct detrimental to the team. The penalty? 40 years of physical punishment in the desert. Moses would keep leading the team. His enthusiasm and belief in what he was doing in the game rubbed off on the up-and-coming players who came onto the team during those 40 years in the wilderness. They didn't have the defeated mindset of their forefathers. It was a new generation playing on the team. They camped on the east side of the Jordan, ready to take hold of the promised trophy. It was at this point, on top of his game, that Moses retired and made his all-star teammate, Joshua, the new team captain. The question now is, how will Joshua lead as captain?